done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
What is going on, y'all? Can you hear me? I hope so. Well, I guess you can. I forgot to mute my monitor there. So, oh boy, this is going to be a fun one. I am not usually in this time slot. So things are a little discombobulated, but welcome to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network, where masculinity has not been recalled and faith has not been neutered. Today is Thursday, February 26th. February is almost over. And we are not just talking politics. This is spiritual warfare that we are engaged in, and we're watching suicidal empathy being dressed up as progress. So we're done pulling punches. We're done pretending, and we are not gonna apologize ever. So grab your therapy dog cupcake, because this one is going to hurt. I promise. Excuse me. I know it's been a couple of days since the State of the Union, and I wanted to talk about it obviously this morning, but circumstances beyond my control made that not possible. So here we are in BZ's time slot. BZ will be back, but he took the week off. So I'm gonna see what we can do here tonight. But the State of the Union was not. It wasn't just the State of the Union address. That was a tour de force speech by the president, and it was a controlled demolition of the left. He went scorched earth. He walked into that chamber, and he reduced the Democrat narrative to absolute rubble, and it was glorious to watch. Economy, border, foreign policy, all of it. He just laid waste to it. But going scorched earth, and we're going to talk about that a lot from the president's side, but that doesn't just mean, that doesn't just stop at the aisle. If we're going to celebrate the narrative destruction that President Trump visited on the left, then we have to be willing to confront the same type of thing on our side. No immunity because you claim to be on the right, no cults of personality, nothing like that. We are going to set some standards because they matter, and we're gonna lay that out here tonight. So let's get after it. The State of the Union address is not going to just be remembered for the policy bullets that were laid out. It wasn't just about tax rates, line items, policy positions, nothing. Well, it was that, but it wasn't just that. We're going to go through some of the most powerful moments in that speech, that record length speech. I believe it was 108 minutes, if memory serves. And he had some fantastic, memorable moments that we are going to get into. And I might get into the Democrat response, because that's an important part of what took place. Is when you're looking at these things, you have to measure them. Well, you don't have to, but it is good to measure them by your opponent's response. And our opponent's response in this was, it was a crash out. They crashed out. And so we might get into Spanberger's response and some of the other things that took place. But the first thing I want to get into is one of the powerful moments that took place was when President Trump, and I'm not going in order of his in chronological order of the speech, but these are just some of the moments that stood out to me, and I'm sure they stood out to most people who were paying attention, whether you agree with President Trump or not. And we can tell by the response that some of these moments stood out. But one of the ones that stood out to me the most was when he recognized Irina Zarutska's mother. It was one of those things where it was just like, are these people even human? And we saw it last year. We saw it last year with DJ. What is wrong with these people? So this is President Trump recognizing Irina Zarutska's mother, and this was a telling moment, and one of the most telling moments in this speech.
Pro-crime Democrat politicians again and again. We are honored to be joined tonight by a woman who's been through hell, Anya Zarutska. In 2022, she and her beautiful daughter, so beautiful, what a beautiful young woman, Irina, fled war-torn Ukraine to live with relatives near Charlotte, North Carolina. And by the way, what's going on with Charlotte? Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget. There were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had escaped a brutal war only to be slain by a hardened criminal, set free to kill in America, came in through open borders. Mrs. Zarutska.
Yeah, I know. He got that wrong, but that's neither here nor there. But I know somebody's going to call it out, so let's just get that out in the open.
Tonight, I promise you, we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina. How do you not stand? How do you not stand? I'm asking this Congress to pass tough.
Seriously, how did they not stand for that? How did they not stand for most of the things that we're gonna talk about here tonight? It was heartless, soulless. Soulless is a better word. Absolute soulless. Now, this next one. This next one is just infuriating, really. Their response throughout the whole thing was pretty infuriating, but this one in particular, because this one, I mean, how do you not stand? You know, let's just go ahead and watch it. It's a long clip. We're not going to play the whole thing, but you'll get the idea. And we got a lot of clips to get to tonight, so bear with me on this. But I mean, I really want to make this point.
Chief Warrant Officer Slover is still recovering from his serious wounds, but I'm thrilled to say that he is here tonight with his wife, Amy, Eric, and Amy. Come on in.
Now, I think this is the point when Rashida Tlaib was chanting KKK, and if it wasn't this one, there was another point in time when USA chants broke out, and she did that. But unbelievable.
So we have a surprise for Eric and Amy. In recognition of Eric's actions above and beyond the call of duty, I would now like to ask General Jonathan Braga to present Chief Warrant Officer Slover with our nation's highest military award, the Congressional Medal of Honor.
This guy, I mean, just look at him. Talk about military bearing. And he's still in pain. He's still recovering from his injuries. And he is just stone. He's a Chief Warrant Officer 5. And if you know anything about the military ranks, that is a unicorn. CW5s are not, they're less than, I think, make up less than half of a percent in the military. And so these guys are not to be messed with, and you can tell. Now, I know that you could see them standing for him, but there was another veteran, 100-year-old veteran, who also was awarded the Medal of Honor, who they didn't stand for. And so it wasn't that was infuriating. They stood for that. Great. Broken clock and all that. But there was a reaction by someone. I believe it was a representative who was there. Yeah, here we go. And she downplayed and just gave no respect to, or at the whole panel she was on, gave no respect to this veteran who sacrificed his body for this country. So let's take a look at that.
I was there. I was there, and it was as horrific as I thought it would be.
Did you leave early?
Absolutely.
It was like an award show. You get a medal. You get a medal. You
Yes.
get a medal.
That's literally Mo just said, you get a car, you get a car. Y'all are on the same page.
Unbelievable. These absolute harpies. Just and you know that was the sentiment of pretty much everyone on that side of the aisle. Just ridiculous. So we had that. These veterans, the Navy captain who got the Medal of Honor, Slover who got his Medal of Honor, deserving of all of that. And this is the respect that they get from these shrews. Another fantastic moment that I wanted to bring up. Where did it go? I told you we were going to be winging it tonight. Yeah, here we go. Oh, this was absolutely hilarious. This was absolutely hilarious. This was when you could see the look on Ilhan Omar's face when he mentioned the Somali fraud. So let's let's take a look at that, because that was glorious as well.
The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large
He said Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota.
parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are
Look at the look on her face. She looks like she's about to cry.
the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games.
Oh, boy. The look on her face when he mentioned Somali pirates was absolutely amazing. Loved every second of that. Loved it. Now, there were a few others, and I'm not gonna get into all of them. There was a mention of a little girl who was hurt by a illegal alien truck driver who hit her, and Trump announced a law named after Delilah, to stop these illegal aliens from getting driver's licenses, commercial driver's licenses. So that was great. And of course, they didn't stand for her. And yeah, so I really, this is the last one, I think. And this was obviously the icing on the cake. The icing, absolute icing on the cake. I guess I had that one queued up, but actually, no. I this is another one. This is another one that was absolutely priceless. Absolutely priceless.
Their daughter was their son. Sage was thrown into an all-boys state home and suffered terribly for a long time. But today, all of that is behind them because Sage is a proud and wonderful young woman with a...
I love the cameraman that that panned right to Timmy McBride when he started talking about the trans kids. This
Full
this was
ride
awesome.
Scholarship to Liberty University. Sage and Michelle, please stand up.
That was that was oh, I cracked up when I saw that. And I know it wasn't just the cameraman. I know that there was somebody in the van, a producer, telling the cameraman who to show and stuff like that. I get that, but that was savage, and I am absolutely here for it. All right, now this is the main event of the evening. And of course, I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. President Trump laid a trap for these people. And it was obvious. It was obvious as soon as he said it that this was a trap. And they fell right into it, as they always do. And now they're trying to spin their way out of it. They're trying to backtrack. They're trying to do all kinds of damage control, but the damage was done, and the ads are just going to write themselves. I think there's already one that came out, but this is the piece de resistance right here.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Look at that. Look at that. All of them sitting down. Now this one right here standing up in the red, if you can see that, it might be a little small, but that was Kat Kamek, who purposefully sat on their side so that she could do this and just further highlight the absolute lunacy of the left. Just ridiculous. These are two of the seditious six right here, Mark Kelly and Elisa Slotkin. I thought he had something else to say afterwards, but it might have been a different clip. But regardless, you get the idea. You get the idea. They just fell right into that trap. And Chuck Schumer tried to downplay it and say that he wasn't going to be a prop. They weren't going to be a prop in his game, or whatever the case may be. Doesn't matter, because the optics are out there, and President Trump won. He won the night, plain and simple. I mean, how do you not stand for that? And at this point, how do you not recognize that President Trump is playing you like that? He's been doing it for years. and they continue to fall for it every time. I guess they think they're smarter than he is. I guess they think that they can somehow wiggle out of it. They probably think because the American Pravda is so much in their pocket, they probably think that people are just buying what they're selling. But the polls are not cooperating. I didn't plan on talking about it, but I think I have it here. The instant polls right after the address on CNN shows. Let's go ahead and take a look at it.
Among speech watchers tonight, 64% say his policies will move the U.S. in the right direction. And look at the growth President Trump made over the speech. So pre-speech, it was 54% of speech watchers said his policies will move the U.S. in the right direction. After the speech, that number goes up 10 percentage points. So Donald Trump made some progress with people watching the speech from their pre-speech expectations to what they saw in the speech itself. And that 64% number, that's pretty much in range across all of his State of the Union addresses. In his first term, last year, the joint session, that's about what we've seen. Is roughly 2/3 have walked away from his speeches thinking he's going to move it in the right direction.
So a lot of red meat for the base.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. If you're a Republican on the ballot in 2026, I think you leave this speech being as happy as you could possibly be.
So, and don't forget, this is CNN. This is CNN. They are polling CNN viewers. They're not looking for people outside of their audience to participate in these polls. And CNN viewers are saying this. And there was another poll that showed that another poll that was taken after the speech, I believe it was taken yesterday, where he's up like over 50% approval after that speech. So boo-hoo CNN. Boo-hoo left. President Trump won the night, plain and simple. The binary choice that he laid out, the trap that he laid for them that they fell right into, the visual is, it doesn't get any better than that from an optics point of view. Dan Bongino likes to say that politics is snapshots and sound bites. There were a whole host of snapshots and a whole host of sound bites from that speech the other night. And the question was simple. The question was unbelievably simple. And the optics from the answer were brutal for the left. Now, Spanberger had her response, and I know the responses, regardless of which party's in power, the responses are almost always lackluster at best. I remember the last one that Katie Britt, I believe, a senator from Alabama, gave in Biden's last address. It was okay, nothing great. And we all remember Marco Rubio's response. That was a disaster. And so, I mean, I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock in it. I mean, Abigail Spanberger is a hardcore leftist who is running Virginia into the ground. So we don't need to go over that. You can imagine she was just lying her leftist butt off. But this, and I only have one clip from this event, and it's enough. It isn't absolutely enough. These people are out of their minds, absolutely out of their minds. Oh, just check this out.
I'm a mother. I am a physician, and I have a flag. And I am the proud representative for Oregon's 3rd Congressional District. Yes, thank you, thank you.
What is that? Why do they always dress up in these ridiculous costumes? This is supposed to be the State of the Swamp event, and I believe Robert De Niro was here and a few other leftist lunatics. And there was a point in time when these frogs were all dancing around. There was another guy dressed up in a giraffe costume yelling into a microphone. What is this supposed to do? How is anyone supposed to take this seriously? Oh, these people are ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. So we don't need to get into that. You can see it's just insane. The conclusion that you can, the only conclusion you can really come to from this. In fact, that what comes to mind when President Trump had asked him that question and nobody stood up, that conjures up the ad that they ran during the campaign when they said that President Trump was for you and Kamala Harris was for they them. It's that same vibe. Only this time the them is illegal aliens. And the left is trying to spin this as he was negative, and he only had negative things to say. That was one of the most positive speeches I've heard. The only times he said anything negative was in response to their ridiculousness. That's it. He said that they were crazy when they wouldn't stand. That was it. Everything else was positive. Everything else was upbeat. Everything else was forward looking. And the left is not going to win if they keep that up. They're not going to win. I know the polls don't necessarily look great right now. It's for the midterms and looking forward to 2028. But if this was kind of the kickoff of the midterms, and if this keeps up, if we can gather momentum from that, it'll be an uphill fight for them. This was an optics night, and this was a perception night. And in these policy fights, it's perception, especially in this instant gratification, TikTok, 10-second soundbite world that we live in now. Perception matters. Perception is what sticks. And the perception from that is that these people are lunatics. All right. Before we move on, because if I get into this subject, we'll never get a word in from any sponsors. So let's get a word in from our sponsor for today's show, tonight's show. And our sponsor for tonight's show is Patriot Mobile. And now more than ever, votes matter. Your vote matters, but your wallet matters too. And that's why we switched to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, and they actively support pro-life, pro-family, and pro-freedom causes with every dollar that you spend with them. So right now, get a free month of service at patriotmobile.com with promo code Jackson, or call 972-PATRIOT and use promo code Jackson. Defend freedom with every call, every text, every month. Switch to patriotmobile.com today, patriotmobile.com/Jackson. All right, y'all. I am Big E, and you are watching or listening to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network, where you can catch all of our great shows in our lineup. Sackhead Sean with The Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Jersey Joe with the Reaver of Common Sense, who is the Reaver of Common Sense, every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. BZ with the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific. And we have a new show in the lineup that's coming up. And I believe it is called Beer and Bullstein. I'm not quite sure of the schedule yet, but please be on the lookout for that, because it is going to be a banger, just like all the other great shows in this lineup. So be sure to like and subscribe and share the channel, share all the shows, and pray for us that we continue this push. We are over 1,100 subscribers now. So thank you all very much for that. We are growing, and we love you all for it. And I want to say hi to everyone in the chat as well. Thank you all for being here. And I want to thank the moderators for holding it down in the chat and keeping everybody in line. Thank you all very much. I really, really appreciate it. All right, y'all. Now that that is out of the way, let's get back to the briefing. And you all saw the title of the show, Scorched Earth. And you all saw the thumbnail. And Candace Owens is not someone that I have talked about a whole lot. Here and there, since Charlie Kirk's assassination, I've mentioned some of the things that she's said and done. And I kind of left it at that. She is a lunatic. She is peddling some ridiculous conspiracy theories. And I just didn't feel like it was worth my time. It was worth addressing. But she's come up with some stuff now that is just out of control. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with Candace Owens. And when I look back on her career now, you could kind of see this coming. But she had everybody fooled. She had everybody fooled. And this was a long con. This was a long con. She started in 2007 as she told everyone that she was a leftist, and she sued her school district, I believe, because she claimed that some people were threatening her. And fast forward 10 years, she did a few things. She had this website that I guess was one of the first doxing websites, and she doxed, or she attempted to dox conservatives, but that was short-lived. And then, excuse me, and then around 2016, I guess she saw dollar signs on the right, and she started talking a lot of conservative commentary. And Dave Rubin, a very prominent conservative, well, at the time, he was probably not even really conservative. He was just a fair-minded liberal who is now really considered a right-wing lunatic by the left. But he platformed her. She got noticed. She ended up getting noticed by Charlie Kirk, who immediately gave her a job. And I guess there were some people who kind of cautioned him against that, but he did it anyway because he was the boss. And in 2019, she was asked, well, she joined Turning Point with Charlie Kirk. She was asked in 2019 to leave after some comments that she made about Hitler. And I believe, I'm going to be fair and say that I believe that those comments were taken wildly out of context. She was asked a question that she answered, and the answer that she gave, when taken, clipped just like that, was kind of unfair. But nevertheless, given what we know now, maybe it wasn't so unfair, especially with her association with Kanye West and all that stuff. But anyway, so she became a media darling of the right, but she started burning bridges. She burned a bridge with TPUSA. She burned a bridge with Daily Wire when she left there, and everybody knows how that went down. And so now she's an independent operator. And then we have the assassination of Charlie Kirk, who was, according to her, her best friend. Now, I believe she, and I think a lot of people believe this, that she was interested in Charlie and wanted to be with Charlie. And if you look at the timeline of when she got married and he ended up hooking up with Erica, there's definitely some jealousy vibes going on there. Anyway, Charlie Kirk is assassinated. I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, maybe not even that long, she starts peddling all kinds of conspiracy theories. Israel had Charlie Kirk killed. The Egyptians were involved. The Mossad was involved. The guy who they arrested, I can't remember his name right now, didn't do it. All of these ridiculous conspiracies. And people just, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, she's being a provocateur. She's trying to get clicks. But then she brought Erica Kirk and TPUSA into it. And that was when a lot of people started to really question what was going on with her. And at that point, for me, she went from a conspiracy theorist to an outright nut job. And then as things progressed, she started implicating Erica Kirk, saying that not only questioning the way she was grieving, but then saying that her and TPUSA had something to do with his assassination, that they were involved somehow. That goes from conspiracy theorist to nut job to just evil. Just straight up evil. And there are a lot of people who I'm really surprised have jumped on this bandwagon with her. I'm not going to name him, but there's a guy who I follow in the 2A space on YouTube, who his content has always been great, but he's on this bandwagon too, saying that she doesn't. The Hodge twins are another one. She's not grieving right. The tears are fake. She shouldn't be. I mean, just all kind. Like, there's a textbook for how someone is supposed to grieve. Like, was your husband fatally shot on live TV for everyone to see? If so, then maybe you can give her some tips. But until then, shut up. And it's just straight evil. And I guess there's this website or this account online that is saying that a lot of famous people, big name accounts, were paid to call Candace Owens evil and a demon. Dana Lash, Graham Allen, Dan Bongino, Cat Turd, and a few others. I'm not getting paid. I believe me, I would love to be getting paid. I would love to have spent my entire day prepping for this show instead of working at a job for someone else. But no. And I am sitting here to tell you right now, Candace Owens is a demon. She is demonic to her core. And I'm not going to play the trailer, but she released a trailer about this investigative report that she's about to put together, or that she has put together. I believe the first episode just dropped yesterday or today. Bride of Charlie. And the image of the trailer portrays her in this really dark light. And it's just evil. She claims to be this staunch Catholic. But the Bible tells us not to oppress widows and orphans. And that's exactly what she's doing. And not only is she oppressing them, but the things that she's doing could potentially put them in harm's way. Somebody already killed her husband. And we see what the rhetoric from these people does to their lunatic followers. They just took out a guy who was trying to take out the president. Somebody took a shot at the president once. He was shot in his ear. And then another one was thwarted. And those are just the ones that we know about. Those are just the ones that they couldn't keep from the press. And we know that it's on President Trump's mind because he said they're gunning for him. So you know that there's more that they're just not telling us about. And for her to do this and to put such a target on her back and potentially her children's back is just plain evil. And like I said, I haven't been talking about it before because I just didn't think it was worth it. I didn't want to give it air. But at this point, everyone who has the voice needs to be calling her out, because this is just completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. She is potentially putting them in grave danger. And for what? She's the only one I know that's making money off of this. And even though she at the height of this, she had the #1 podcast by a lot, as her conspiracy theories are being proven, just getting more and more out there, and people are just saying, you know what, this is ridiculous. She's not all the way up there, but she's still making tens of thousands of dollars per episode. And it's sick. And I can't believe how many people are buying this. People who in pretty much any other context are not, I wouldn't have thought they were this stupid. And I've gotten into some social media back and forth with some of these people, and they're idiots. But some of the more prominent people that I've seen that are falling for this nonsense, it's just insane to me. Absolutely insane to me. But this is I think this is the culmination of the pattern that she's established, because I mentioned before, she has burned bridge after bridge. TPUSA, conflict, done. Daily Wire, conflict, done. And the culmination, the logical conclusion of this is somebody getting seriously hurt. And I pray that somebody gets to her. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen, because somebody that I have watched for a number of years, I've read a couple of his books, or at least one of his books. Well, two if you count the one that has no words. But Michael Knowles, who is a commentator for the Daily Wire, he's known her since before she joined the Daily Wire. And he just came out with a video where he basically said that people who are calling her out are wasting their time. And he's another Catholic who should be calling out evil when he sees it. Now, he's godfather to one of her children. And so he's really close with her. So I understand why he wouldn't publicly call her out. But if you're not going to publicly call her out, if you disagree with her privately, that's fine. But don't publicly defend her. And so I think the only way this is going to end is when, if I don't want to say when, if somebody gets seriously hurt behind her rhetoric. I pray that doesn't happen. I pray she gets a revelation and realizes that she's doing evil and comes to her senses. At one point, I thought this was some postpartum depression because she's had like 4 kids in 4 years or something like that. And so I thought, well, maybe this is just some postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis, and she'll come out of it. I don't know about that at this point. I think she's demonically influenced right now, and you can see it. I did play something a while back where you could kind of see what was going on with her. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out there, because and as these things pop up, I'm going to keep talking about it, because you have to call out evil when you see it. And when she was just a lunatic conspiracy theorist, it was one thing. But now that she's putting Erica Kirk and her children Charlie's children, her alleged best friend's children, in danger. That's something that just can't stand. Cannot stand. All right, I'm gonna let that go. There's a few more things I wanted to hit, but I don't want to belabor that point any more than I already have, because that's all. I've only gotten to 2 topics so far, and I got a few more that I want to get to. So let's pivot to another fairly heavy topic, unfortunately, but I want to talk about the phenomenon that we're seeing with these trans shooters. And I'm not going to talk about it from the trans ideology point of view. I've talked about that a lot, and I'm sure I'll talk about it again. But this is from a purely academic and statistical standpoint. And the Crime Prevention Research Center did a study, because we know that there has been a serious uptick in the number of shooters who identify as trans or some other gender diluted state. We know this. But of course, the left will tell you that it's not true, that all of the mass shootings have been committed by straight white men, and the number of mass shootings committed by trans people is statistically insignificant. Okay. Well, the Crime Prevention Research Center disagrees. And you probably won't be able to see this. If not, that's fine. Transgender shooters. It says transgender shooters commit disproportionate shares of mass public and active shooting attacks. In 2024, at least 12 times their share of the population. 12 times. And you can see this chart right here. The red is the trans shooters. The blue is all the other shooters. That's insane. And no matter how you spin it, there's no way you can say that that is statistically insignificant. So what they did, let me get rid of that. What they did is they did per capita comparisons. And this is a comparison of the rate, not the raw numbers. Raw numbers, obviously, especially depending on how far back you go, the raw numbers would make that statistically insignificant, especially if you go back 40, 50 years. But this is a very recent phenomenon. And just because it's a recent phenomenon and doesn't, and also let's be clear, mass shootings are a rare occurrence, despite what the left would have us believe. And yes, the gender diluted shooters are even more rare. That is true. But when you consider their share of the population, well, that changes things. So what CPRC did, they used FBI's active shooting definition, public setting, multiple victims, not limited to gang or domestic incidents, and the behaviorally distinct category, which obviously is the trans aspect of this. And because they did it that way, and people who dispute this will cite the Gun Violence Archive, Everytown, Giffords. They'll cite all these other think tanks that conduct research like this, but they use overbroad definitions, and they include samples of include gang shootings, and then they also, especially if they want to talk about children, they'll include 18 to 21-year-olds as kids. So their data and their methodology is just completely whack. And so when you take that into consideration, and the population share, the share of trans people, depending on where you get your data from, anywhere from 0.5% to 1%. And there was one I saw that was at like 1.2%. When you take that into consideration, the Crime Prevention Research Center's data shows that is 12% higher in that category. And even if you take the highest representation you can, that's still 8 times instead of 12 times. So that's an issue. That is an issue. And so what is the issue? Well, I said I wasn't going to get into that, so we're not going to. We'll just stick with the numbers aspect of it. When you're doing a per capita analysis, the numbers, the percentage always matters more than the total count. And that's what we're seeing with this. And so the CPRC shows that they commit 12 times their share of the population of these mass shootings. And of course, people like Giffords and Everytown, Gun Violence Archive will say that these are rare events, and the percentage of the actual raw numbers that they commit is not significant. And of course, CPRC will say, as a counter, that rare event statistical analysis is common, that they do it all the time when they're talking about terrorism, when they're talking about school violence in general, not just gun violence. These things, it's a valid research tool. And they will also say that overrepresentation among across multiple incidents signals that there is a statistical anomaly at play. The rarity of an event does not eliminate the meaningful rate differences. And the meaningful rate differences show that trans people are committing these crimes at a much greater clip than the rest of the population. Percentage per capita. Now, there's obviously something going on. And obviously, people who identify all we got to do is look a week and a half ago at the shooter in Rhode Island. There's obviously something going on with these people that we need to we need to look into. Now, the Second Amendment absolutist in me says that we can't disqualify groups of people based on the actions of a few. But I have to fight myself on that. I'm not going to lie. But it's the same argument that we use with criminals. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I have to be intellectually honest and say, yeah, we can't. We can't punish law-abiding citizens for the actions of criminals. And so just because some of these trans shooters, or some of these shooters are trans, doesn't mean we have to take away the rights of everyone who identifies as trans. As much as that pains me to say, and I'm just being honest. So this is something that needs a lot more research. We need to figure this out. Whether that's, well, let's be honest. What we need to do is just stop transing people. Period. End of story. These people need help. They don't need SSRIs and cross-sex hormones and mutilating surgeries that never help the situation. And that right there would curb a lot of this madness. I mean, let's be honest. When a group that commits or that represents 1% of the population accounts for a double-digit percentage of a narrowly defined violent category, that's a statistic that we have to pay attention to, no matter how much the left says it's not a big deal. No matter how much the left says, oh, look at all the straight white men. Yeah, we need to lock them up too. We need to do what we can to prevent them from committing those crimes too. And there's a very good chance, a likelihood, that they're on some of these drugs too, these SSRIs and antidepressants and all the rest of it. They need Jesus is what they need. All right, we're going to stick with the Second Amendment theme here. And there was a shooting back in, well, it's only about 10 days ago, really, in Grand Rapids, Michigan. A person by the name of DeQuayne Johnson was shot by police. And yes, he was a convicted felon. Yes, he was in possession of a firearm. And yes, his family is disputing the official record of the incident. Officers responded to a report of a man who they believed to be armed, and he was riding a bike. And I've seen the dash cam and body cam footage, but they found this guy, and a canine unit was deployed, and he ditched his bike, started running, fell. Officers gave him the command to drop the gun, and then they couldn't see it. They couldn't see his hands. His hand was tucked under his body as he was on the ground. And one of the officers actually reached in to try and secure his arm, get him to show his hands. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. Officer backed up. A few seconds later, shots were fired. And this guy died from his injuries. Based on what I saw in the footage, it was dark, a little grainy, unfortunately. Based on what I saw, looked like a clean shoot to me. Obviously, it's being investigated. Obviously, the family is upset that their son was killed. I'm just gonna leave that there. I'm just gonna leave that there. Officers perceived themselves to be in danger and opened fire. And from what I could see, they had every reason to believe that they were in grave danger. And it's not like it's not like there wasn't a gun recovered. They recovered a gun at the scene under his body. So there's that. But anyway, I bring all that up because I mean that reads like your typical officer involved shooting of a convicted criminal. It is what it is. But I bring that up because the mayor of Grand Rapids made a complete fool of himself. And I mean a complete fool of himself. After this incident, there was a town meeting, and he made some comments that I want you all to hear, and then we'll talk about it.
Somebody changes their tire with a gun. What they're for is killing human beings, and so it's really hard. I think as a community, we have to start having some shaming around gun possession. I think if you've got a gun, you should be ashamed of yourself.
You heard correctly. He said, if you have a gun, you should be ashamed of yourself.
I really do. Now, I'm sorry, that's going to be the soundbite of the night, and the NRA is going to be mad at me. But I get that we got a Second Amendment. I get it, but
do you though? Do you? Do you get that we have a Second Amendment? Do you get that we have a right to defend ourselves? Do you? Because it doesn't sound like it.
You also should be ashamed of yourself if you smoke. That's not against the law.
Smoking is not against the law, but it's also not a constitutionally protected right. And whether or not you should be ashamed of yourself for smoking, that's not for him or I to decide.
I think if you own a gun, you should be ashamed of yourself, and you should really do some self-reflection. And I think that I just see so much more harm, just like cigarettes. I see so much more harm done than benefit.
So there's that. Shaming around gun possession. Now, does he feel that way about his police officers? Does he feel that way about his protection detail? I suspect not. And he also made some comments about the dog, the canine that was deployed who bit what's his name, DeQuain. And he said that if his dog bit somebody, he would have it put down. This guy is a lunatic. Now he went on, he didn't go on Facebook. He posted something to Facebook. Yeah, here we go. He posted, and I commented. After I found this, I commented on it. But he posted this to Facebook. You can't read it. But he says, I want to clarify a comment I made regarding a police canine, stating that if it were my dog, I would have him put down. The remark was made in the heat of the moment, viewing the situation through the lens of a pet owner rather than from the perspective of public safety operations. And then he goes on to say, we must ensure that the men and women who put their lives on the line have the appropriate tools required to do their jobs effectively. It is a vital balance that we must strike, equipping our officers for success while maintaining the highest standards of safety and trust for our entire community. Okay, fine, great. I commented and I said, so people who find themselves in a situation where their life is on the line should not have the same tools available to them, or should they be ashamed of themselves for wanting those tools to give them the best chance to survive? And of course, he didn't answer. His page is not very well followed on on Facebook. But this is the type of lunacy that you get when it comes to the Second Amendment from these people. He actually said that people who own guns should be ashamed of themselves. People who want to survive, if confronted with a life-threatening situation like that, should be ashamed of themselves for wanting the best tools to employ so that they can survive the situation. That's insane. That's not just insane, that's demonic. Been using that word a lot tonight, but it's true. It's hard to come up with new ways to talk about this because it's just so utterly ridiculous. So ridiculous. Talking about police accountability has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not somebody should be able to carry a gun for their protection. I'm not even sure. Like now that town hall or that meeting that he was in, they picked it up after he started speaking, so I'm not sure exactly what was said before that. Not that it matters because the context was clear. But being able to defend yourself with the most effective tools at your disposal is not something anyone should be ashamed of. He should be ashamed for suggesting such a thing, honestly. He's wow. But he represents the left. He is a hardcore leftist, obviously. I didn't really get a chance to dig into him much, but I mean, that statement kind of speaks for itself, does it not? Unbelievable. All right. We're almost out of time, and there's a couple of other things I wanted to get to that I'm not going to be able to because they take a little longer than the time we have left. But there was something else I wanted to get back to. Going back to the reaction to President Trump's State of the Union address. I showed you the images of that State of the Swamp event with the people dressed up as frogs and giraffes and all the rest of that nonsense. There was an event called the People's State of the Union, and I don't have this particular clip, but Sarah Gonzalez was there and she was heckling Joy Reid, who was on the stage, and there were not a lot of people there. I want to say that there was like 25, 30 people at this event. They were expecting a lot more. And this video of Joy Reid on the stage, I promise it's not long. You won't have to endure it for too long. But this this was one of the cringiest, and there were a lot of cringe moments, but this was one of the cringiest moments of the night.
Al Green, if you can hear me, I'm so in. Come on, here it.
Nobody, she's trying to get the crowd to sing and nobody is doing it.
Keep it going. Whatever you. It's all right with me.
Excuse me.
Al Green, if you can hear me.
Wow. That was sad. That was what do you just cringe. Just utter cringe. But that's what they're reduced to. That's what they're reduced to. And I think she wasn't addressing the singer Al Green. I think she was addressing Al Green, the representative who got kicked out of the State of the Union for holding up that stupid sign. It said, "Black people aren't apes." That, I mean, come on. All right, this last thing I want to get to, because this is, oh, and I just, as I was doing last minute prep for the show, I did see that Minnesota lawmakers file articles of impeachment against Governor Tim Walz and AG Ellison. I'm not sure what literally, I just saw this when I started prepping for the show. So I don't know what Minnesota's legislature is like. I don't know if this has much of a shot to go through. But regardless, I think that is fantastic. But what I wanted to do was get into this, because this also ties in with the State of the Union address, because of Delilah's Law that President Trump announced. And this happened in Missouri. And I want you to take a look at this. And this could have ended in a very tragic situation.
Going in the wrong direction. Saw cars flying right at them. The witness says the semi sped up and was hitting 50 miles per hour, going the wrong way for nearly 3 miles. Miraculously, they didn't hit anyone. In Missouri, Highway Patrol eventually pulled over that driver who had a legal commercial driver's license.
And guess what?
A commercial driver's license from Minnesota. But Highway Patrol says during that stop, our commercial vehicle enforcement troopers conducted a driver inspection and determined the driver could not properly identify road signs, as mandated by federal motor carrier regulations. Per federal motor carrier guidelines, he was placed out of service and not allowed to continue driving. Here's what we know about this particular trucking business. Cargo Transportation LLC is run out of an apartment in Hopkins, Minnesota, just outside Minneapolis. It was registered in 2023 to an Abdulwali Ahmed and only has 2 drivers, one of whom presumably can't read road signs. But still, last year the company drove more than 81,000 miles.
Wow. I mean, that could have ended in tragedy. I saw the actual video from the person who took it, followed him for a lot of that 3 miles, and he finally was able to get to a turnoff where he could get on the other side of the highway, where he was eventually pulled over. People like Mussolini in California and Tampon Timmy up in Minnesota, who do they think they're helping by giving these people driver's licenses? They're not helping people like Delilah. They're not helping the people who have been killed by these illegal alien truck drivers. Like the one who made a U-turn across the highway, killing a family, and then just the expression on his face was just like, whatever, they were infidels. Just insane. These people are insane. All right, y'all, that's going to do it for us on this briefing. We are not here to just yammer for an hour and a half. We are here to equip Christian men to and to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and that carry the banner of faith, freedom, and hope into the next generation. If anything that we said here tonight rang true to you or resonates with you, don't just watch, but share it, share this episode, share the channel, bring other men into the fight. And if you want to wear what you stand for, head over to missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, and check out all the great designs we have about bold faith, true grit, and unapologetic patriotism. And also head over there and click on the SHR Media Shop and check out all of those designs. We have designs for all of the guys' shows. The SHR logo shirt, the 250 reasons to read source documents t-shirt in honor of our 250th anniversary of this great country. The Reaver of Common Sense, the Edge of Liberty, all of the logo tees for all of the shows on this great network. All right, y'all. Remember, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.